On today's episode, we are going over the craziness of the last two episodes of Star Wars Rebels. We're also going to break down some revelations coming out of the leaked passages for the Last Jedi novelization. And we're going to hit some fan questions, including Luke Skywalker's wife and what's up with Leia in Episode 9. This is Nerds Talk Star Wars. Let's do this thing. What's up, everybody? It's Josh. This is the Den of Nerds. You're hanging out with us on a Sunday night, on a nice little Sunday night, which is, of course, Star Wars Day here on the Den of Nerds, backed by popular demand, and I do mean that, is James Razile from the RebelsCon podcast. What's going on, bro?
Hey, not much. Just loving sitting here watching John Williams getting another Oscar for his work on The Last Jedi.
Yeah, John Williams just boom. By the way, this may or may not be pre-taped. James may or may not look like a fool if he doesn't win. But I will say this, he's probably a lock for it because, dude, the freaking soundtrack for The Last Jedi is out of control.
I love that one, yeah.
Do you own it?
No, because I have Apple Music, and it is already on there.
What?
I own the Force Awakens soundtrack. And then I subscribe to Apple Music, so I don't need to buy it anymore.
Dude, wow, Canada sounds great. I own both soundtracks.
I'm pretty sure it's American, by the way.
America's not great. Anyway, let's get into our first topic of the day. We're talking about the craziness that was Star Wars Rebels. Dude, James, just before we get into anything specifically, like, how crazy has the comeback been for the back half of Star Wars Rebels?
I was in Cuba the week it returned, and I had no internet, I didn't watch TV, nothing. They don't even get that there, obviously. And I come back, and holy cracker jacks, that was awesome. Like, yeah, the first two episodes, I was like, yes. And then the last two episodes, which, by the way, side Akbar here, we are a week behind in a stupid cold country of Canada. For some reason, 4 years of Star Wars Rebels, the last 6 episodes, 7 episodes, are a week behind. For the first time ever in 4 years. We're a week behind.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. You've seen the ones with Ahsoka?
Yeah, so here's what happened.
Okay.
I got back from Cuba, and everyone's like, holy shitballs, Rebels. I was like, gotta watch it. I turned on my TV. We have a PVR in Canada, not DVR. I put it on, and it's not there. And I'm like, what? Why didn't it record it? I checked. It was scheduled to record this past Monday. I was like, okay, so they just screwed up. Technology, it happens.
Right.
Found it online. Watched the Canon ones. Was like blown away.
Yeah.
On Monday, I play soccer because I'm in shape. I play soccer. I go home from soccer. I'm like, gonna watch Rebels. Put on my TV. Hit the play button, and it was the Canon episodes. So, and on iTunes and Google Play in Canada, you cannot get this week's episodes yet. And your first week's episodes just dropped now. We are a week behind, and it's the only time it's ever happened in the whole run of Rebels.
Damn.
So anyway, a couple of subscribers at RebelsCon Podcast were kind enough to send me links to watch it online.
Nice.
And I watched them both. Much like I probably look very pixelated. It wasn't HD, but I watched them and wow.
Yeah, man. Mind blown. So, first question right off the top. Do you think Filoni knew exactly what he was doing with Ahsoka?
From 2 years ago?
Yeah.
It's a great question. Because my first knee-jerk reaction is to say no, but then when you think of Filoni, you're like, yeah.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, because you think, like, nah, there's no way that he could intricately figure that all out. But then again, it's Filoni.
And he chose to end the season this year.
Mm-hmm.
He could have gone another year. He probably could have gone another 2 years and then risk it being canceled.
Right.
But he chose to end it. And you were at Celebration, and he said, I chose to end it so that I could do it on my terms because I know what it's like to not get that. And he's not just wrapping up Rebels, he's wrapping up Clone Wars. And you feel like whatever's happened with Ahsoka is part of a greater arc for her character.
Yeah.
And it's not over, and we'll probably talk about this in a bit, but I don't think we're going to get the finale of her in the Rebels finale.
She's done, yeah.
Yeah, she's done on the show. She's not done yet, though.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, I think. Well, he even said in an interview, he said, Ahsoka, she needs to serve Rebels. It can't just be Ahsoka's story. It's the Rebel story, and she just has to. Her appearances in it have to serve that story. So, yeah, you know what? I mean, knee jerk, I say no, but when I sit down and I think about Filoni, think about what he said, and when you read these interviews with him where he talks about killing Kanan, spoilers, and all that stuff, you realize he knew. I don't think he knew how to kill. He was going to kill Kanan in that way, but it was all part of the plan.
Yeah, man, it's just like, okay, so like I could speak Filoni's praises like all day, and I think anybody that's been watching the channel for any serious amount of time knows how much both you and I really, really respect this guy, really like what he does. I tend to believe that he did know exactly what he was going to do, but here's the way that I think of it. I think that he was like, in his kind of head canon, here's a way that she could survive.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because he solved so many problems with it. So one, like, she can't beat Vader. She can't beat Vader, and also Vader cannot let her live. And so that's the biggest problem, really, is like, well, Vader's the big bad. He's big man on campus, and if he wants to kill you, you gone. The only person he ever didn't kill was his son. You know what I mean? In that sort of a situation.
Yeah.
So, man, she's in a tricky spot when you kind of consider that context. And so he solves all of those problems. She's pulled out of that moment. Vader doesn't get a chance to kill her, and then she comes back in that moment. So we do see her walking in to the temple. You know what I mean? Like, that's so bizarre. In fact, you could even say maybe she was going back in to try to find Anakin, right? Because she said, "I'm not going to leave you again." So it was very, very cool. Now, what do you think about, let's talk about time travel. Time travel in Star Wars. I never wanted it. I never thought it would be possible. I thought it would be too, you don't want that in Star Wars. But seeing how it was handled in the episode, what do you think?
I have a few thoughts on it. For starters, when I was watching it, I never considered it time travel. And afterwards, people were like, time travels in Star Wars. And I was like, wow, I did not see it that way at all. So I started going on the time travel. I'm like, I guess it is time travel. But a lot of people have been commenting on my channel as like the cosmic force, and the force is what it is. And that's what, like, when I first watched it, I honestly never thought of time travel whatsoever. Because I don't want to say I hate time travel.
Right.
But if your story is not about time travel, keep it the hell away from your story. Is the way I always look at it. It's too much of a crux. Like, it's such a cop out when you have time travel. But the way they handled it, I thought was great, because it's expanding the lore of Star Wars and lore that was set up with the Clone Wars with George Lucas. What George Lucas always intended, maybe not the main stories, but the side stories to be. So for me, watching it, I never thought of it as time travel, but I really thought it was cool. The land itself. The doorway reminded me of Super Mario Brothers 3, The Dark World, when it's all just black with white lines, and I was like, I just want to play Mario now.
Nice.
That's where I was. I really liked the way they did it, and I'm glad that it kind of got smushed, and it's almost like, do not touch this again.
Yeah.
And sorry, the one last thing is the way Kanan goes out. And what Ahsoka says to Ezra about how he can't save Kanan, I think that is a message for future Star Wars writers to say, hey, you can't just do something for the sake of doing it. Everything has a consequence.
Right. So let me ask you this: why, in your opinion, did Kanan send Ezra to that temple? Was it to save Ahsoka? And if so, why?
Okay, I can't answer. I'm not Dave Filoni. That might play out in the next episode.
So that's the thing, right? So that's where my head starts to go, because originally I'm thinking in my head, because look, Dave is just so cognitive of really treating the show with respect. And so, like, the reason I think that he killed Maul off the way that he did, the reason he sort of backed Sam Witwer off of the show, the reason he sort of backed Ahsoka off of the show, was because he understood, like, hey, look, I'm being a little too much fanboy with this. I'm putting in a little too much stuff, and I'm detracting away from this thing that so many people have fallen in love with. So many people are just so in love with the Rebels crew. And so I think that he was cognizant of that. and sort of step back. And so following that train of thought, I tend to believe Ahsoka will not play a role in the Battle of Lothal.
Yeah.
But is there something else at play here? Like, is there something else going on? Because like what's crazy is you essentially, as you save Ahsoka. Beyond that, she then now realizes that there's time travel and she leaves. So in those 2 years, the reason we never see her is because it's the same thing she told Ezra about Kanan. Like, if you go mess with that, you're going to set everything off in a bad way. So if she were to go find the Ghost Crew, let's say in the 2 years prior, since she left Malachor, she can't. She can't go interact with them because it could potentially change something, butterfly effect, that would stop her from being saved and stop Kanan from saving everyone else, blah, blah, blah. So, man, like, can you think of anything? Like, what is it? Is it just to save her? Does she play a role significantly within the Force? Was it maybe to close the temple off? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, the closing the temple off is a good one because Kanan obviously did not send Ezra to save Kanan. Because Kanan, first of all, is not that type of individual or Jedi. That's not his belief. He had to die. He knew for a while that his time was coming to an end. We knew it was like, yeah, I mean.
I made a video before the season even started called Kanan's Gonna Die. Bitch!
I think we did too. Because we're like, well, Kanan has to die. I thought this was going to happen earlier in the season. I thought Kanan was going to bite it very early on, and then we'd be dealing with it for the last few episodes. But it is a short season, so I'm still going to say it's pretty early on.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I wonder if it's just to close the door. I don't know if it'll play a factor in the end. But the Ahsoka is the question. Because now Filoni can go and say, okay, now we can do more stories with her in any capacity he wants.
I want a novel or something. You know what I mean? Like, I want because the Ahsoka novel's great, but I want to know what's going on now. You know what I mean? After realizing that there's time travel, after realizing more about the Cosmic Force, like, I would really like to see what her journey looks like after Malachor.
Here's a question. A new animated series. Filoni's like, I just want to do this. And they give him Ahsoka.
Look, yes, of course. I think there's room to do something. Man, what if she goes to the Old Republic? What if she gets in the time travel thing and goes back to the Old Republic time?
I think that, look, I actually think this whole time traveling thing is done. It served its purpose, but who's to say where she came out is not 2 years ago?
Yeah,
maybe that's 1,000 years ago. Or, maybe that was a day ago. Maybe that was 2 days ago. Like, I mean, we all would say, educated guess, that it was that moment after, because we've seen the end of the episode where after her fight with Vader, she walks away.
It looks like she's walking into the temple. Yeah, you
can't
really see it, but yeah.
No, yeah, but this would explain that if that's the case. However, if Filoni says, nah, you know what, this actually is 15 years ago or 1,000 years in the future, it could be anywhere, really. So all bets are off on Ahsoka now. Ahsoka lives, ? Ahsoka lives, !
Yeah, craziness. I'm pumped about it. I thought it was pretty super dope. All right.
I loved it, yeah.
So one last question while we're on the topic of Rebels, guys. This is sort of a different sort of thing. You've sort of already answered this, but a lot of fans right now, James, who are not happy with some of the things that happen in The Last Jedi, they are now seeing a potential way to fix things. And so, my friend, J.J. Abrams came out on Twitter and said he's going back in time and retconning all of the mistakes that Ryan made. And what do you think about that? You think it's going to happen or what?
Look, if you don't like The Last Jedi, that's perfectly fine. It's a movie. It's subjective. It's definitely not for everybody. There's some choices were made that a lot of people were pissed off at, but they were made. And the best way to go about it is like a Band-Aid. Just suck it up, move on. The next one's coming.
Yep.
You didn't like Luke. What happened to Luke? Fine. Pretend he died a different way. Pretend that he was like, and then enjoy watch the next one. Just ignore it if you want. I look, if there's a movie series and there's one I don't like, I can ignore it.
Yeah.
I can ignore it all I want. I ignore X-Men 3. I ignore Spider-Man 3. I ignore those movies. I know you can't ignore Spider-Man 3. But look, it's possible. It doesn't like. I know it sucks, but the thing collapsed. Do not use time travel. If they use time travel to retcon the Last Jedi, that did you mute me?
Nope.
That would be worse than anything that the people hated in the Last Jedi. Keep it away from it.
I think you might be right, and I think even the people that want it to be changed don't want it to be changed like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is interesting though. I will say this: I don't think we've seen the last of it because that temple, what it really is, it's not. I don't think it's designed. Like it's so weird. That is a place in the cosmic force that sort of treats what's going on in the living force as though it's all flowing at once. And so I think that there's a reason that it's there, and I think that there is that perhaps the possibility that things were done with it. What do you think? You think Anakin was created that way?
That'd be cool.
What if Anakin is like a little force baby that Ezra finds in the last episode? Or something, you know what I mean? Like, or maybe he sneaks into Shmi's hut. You know what I mean?
I'll say this I only want Filoni to touch the time portal.
Yeah, that's fair.
Somebody, and I said this after I saw The Last Jedi, and I liked The Last Jedi, and at that point, I think I liked The Last Jedi more than you liked The Last Jedi. I said, Filoni, man. Like, because there are themes in The Last Jedi that have been played out on Rebels, and I thought they have been done better in Rebels, a lot of them. Filoni gets it.
Dude, he totally gets it. He knows Star Wars better than anyone. Better than anyone. Anyone. And it's such a sensitive topic, time travel and doing, like, because, like, that's more, the thing with that portal is it's even more than time travel. It is a center space, and then there's a door to that time, and you just have all these doors. So it's even better than time travel because you can pick and choose and it's dangerous. That is a rabbit hole you do not want to go down. And Sheev, and dude, you know what else I'm really interested in? And like, guys, I'm sorry, but Rebels is too crazy. I'm gonna be doing Nerds Talk Star Wars for like ever. It just happens to be that we're in the thick of Rebels, so we're gonna talk a lot of Rebels. So, the thing that I found also really awesome about this whole thing, dude, Sheev Palpatine, man. I mean, like, dude, not only does he know about this place, he's actively been trying to get into it. Yeah. And then when they get into it, he's somehow able to open the portal the other way and using Force magic start to pull himself into there.
Yeah, it was... Sheev is a character that... it's so frustrating that his character is so intriguing. And there's so much more to him, and you get pieces of him in Tarkin, pieces in Lords of the Sith, and you get this one episode of Rebels, and you're like, "Wow, this guy can do some serious shit." And is it ever going to be explored further? Like, what's the promise on that? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you, I would love a novel.
Right. Not to cut you off, but I tell you this. This is one thing that really solidified it for me was like. There's just all these Snoke comparisons, right? The Snoke comparisons to Sheev, and there's like the ring, right? It comes the stone comes from Vader's castle, but the gold and the symbols that's from Palpatine's private library, right? And so, like when you think about like a guy like Snoke having reverence for Sheev Palpatine and calling him the greatest Sith that there ever was, I mean, when you get little tidbits like this in the shows and in the books, like you were saying, man, it just totally nails that point home, like. There was no one badder. Like, I think that when you think about what Anakin was able to do, and it wasn't just him throwing the old dude down. He was using the Force while he, like, threw him down there, obviously, right? But, like, Vader's killing of Palpatine was incredibly significant. This was a guy... Man, can you imagine if he would have gotten into that chamber? I mean... Yeah. It's just so bad. And I love the idea of him just looking for the truth and wanting to know more about the Force. And he's just so powerful. And man, as a Star Wars fan, like if you're not watching Rebels, like you're so wrong. Like there's two types of people. There's two types of Star Wars fans. The type of Star Wars fans that watch Star Wars Rebels, and then the type of Star Wars fans that suck. You suck.
Rebels got a bad rap when it started because it was a kid show and it looked like a kid show and the colors and it was very circular. But damn, man, it has just pulled away. And it still kind of remains a kid show. Like at the surface, you're still like, okay, but it doesn't go as dark as like Clone Wars will get.
Mm-hmm.
It knows when to pull back, but it's just the story and the lore is just done in a way. Filoni.
You know what's funny? You just said something so interesting to me because you were like, well, it's still kind of a kid's show. Everything in Star Wars is still kind of a kid's thing. So that is the exact formula. Like, give us intrigue, really make us feel things, make us think, make us draw conclusions, show us a little bit of the tapestry, ignite our imagination, but keep it light. Keep it light. You know what I mean? That's the Star Wars formula, Ryan. So... anyways, sorry guys, let's get into our next topic of the day. The next topic of the day comes from the novelization of The Last Jedi. James, have you read this book yet?
I read it twice.
Well, you're lying.
I pre-ordered it.
Oh, yeah, you're lying. So here's the thing. It's not out yet. And yet, there's so much stuff in there that's already coming out that's sort of reframing things we've been thinking about, starting up conversations about The Last Jedi. Really, really good stuff. So we want to talk about some of the stuff that's going on there. Let's start with the first thing, which is the Snoke thing. You dropped this little tidbit to me. Thank you so much, my friend. I was able to talk about it on the show and really dive into it. But you want to tell everybody what exactly is going on with this Snoke person? I did talk about this on one of the new episodes of the Nerdy News Rundown, but we're going to go really deep here. So talk to me about Snoke. What was in that article?
Snoke's pretty crazy. Is my mic on?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was coughing. Snoke is crazy. And it's a little annoying when you watch the movie and you don't get some of this stuff. Mm-hmm. But Snoke's been around, and Snoke knows shit. And he went to the unknown regions, and he learned about the Force in the unknown regions. And Palpatine knew of Snoke's existence.
Right.
I don't know what that... And also, Snoke was not always bad. That is something that also I think I want to hear explored a little bit further as well. Because he wasn't like Sheev, where Sheev's like, I'm the bad guy right from day one.
Right.
Something happened in Snoke where he decided that he needed the dark side to succeed. Also, he was never meant to be the leader of the First Order. That was never the contingency plan. It was supposed to be, I think, Brendel Hux and Gallius Rax were meant to be the leader of the First Order, and Ray Sloane.
Right.
And somehow, no one knows how, but Snoke became the leader, and he used Armitage Hux, which is the Hux from the movie. Mm-hmm. He used Hux and then manipulated Kylo Ren. But he didn't actually manipulate Kylo Ren, I don't even think. I think it's more he sees greatness in Kylo Ren, but the only way Kylo Ren can achieve that greatness is through the dark side of the Force.
Right. And so much to unpack there. I mean, like, you know, so, and I like to sort of, the baseline thing here, the thing that I continue to talk about, and I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record, guys, but I think for people that aren't hardcore, it's important to sort of frame these ideas. Before The Last Jedi, everything that we knew of Snoke was sort of pointing to this thing where he was this godlike thing that Sheev was trying to find out in the unknown regions. And now it is more starting to feel like whatever that thing was out there in the unknown regions, Snoke was just also looking for it and perhaps was able to find it, unlike Palpatine, because Palpatine obviously passed. And so whatever that is out there, the reason I like this so much is because it sort of humanizes Snoke a little bit more too, and you sort of see the parallels between him and Sheev. But beyond that, something truly special. And that would be whatever the hell that thing is out there. We still have access to that thing. We could still get it in future movies. We could get it in future stories. It could be still the thing that Thrawn was afraid of. And so whatever that is, it's good that it's separate from Snoke. I'm happy about that. But I'm also excited about the things we learn about him. Him not necessarily always being bad. Very interesting. I also saw in that article, maybe him and Luke had met before. What?
Yeah.
Him and Luke Skywalker?
They met, and Luke, I guess, didn't know who Snoke was necessarily at the time.
Right.
This is, obviously I haven't read the books, this is all whatever, but apparently Snoke respected how much Luke was fascinated and willing to learn about the lore of the Jedi.
Right.
And the artifacts. Yeah, but we know that Snoke knows, or Luke knows who Snoke is because he mentions Snoke to Rey. Mm-hmm. So, that's still a question that needs to be. That's my issue with Snoke, is his backstory, which is getting really cool now.
Yeah.
But in the movies, if it doesn't play out in the movie, then I feel like his character and his death are very much almost empty in a lot of ways. And I love that he died.
Right.
But he needs a backstory in the movies because why would Luke and Leia allow Ben to be corrupted by him?
Yeah.
And it's not like Palpatine before. I've said this a million times, but it's not like Palpatine in the original trilogy. We didn't know who Palpatine was, and the original trilogy are just 3 movies. We didn't have a before or an after.
Right.
Now we have 40 years, 6 movies before this. Snoke has never appeared in anything, and you want me to just buy that he appeared out of nothing? It doesn't jive
right.
with anything.
Yeah, I totally agree. And there's a lot of fans that make that argument over and over again. It's like, well, you didn't know who the Emperor was. And I'm like, totally different things. The Emperor served a role in there, and it was literally just starting. And besides, they also did 3 other movies to fill him out, and novels and books and stuff. And so I'm just saying, look, I know that we are probably going to get that. We're hopefully on our way to that, the Last Jedi novelization being the first stop in that road. But, yeah, I totally agree, man. Like, people, you can't just say, like, oh, you're being ridiculous. Because I have people talk to me about that still online because I'm still on this Snoke thing. I'm like, I want to know more. And they're like, why do you feel so entitled to know more? And I'm like, what? Dude, get out of my face.
Storytelling.
Yeah, it's a story.
It's a story.
That's Star Wars.
You want... If Kylo... And the other thing I like is the part where it says that Snoke knew that Kylo Ren needed the dark side to fulfill his greatness. That... What I immediately go towards is Snoke's death, and because Snoke says there's nothing that Kylo can't do that he doesn't see happen, and all that. Mm-hmm. And when I see that death scene, you say, okay, Snoke looks surprised, sure, but if Kylo Ren is destined for greatness through the dark side, he kills his father, then he kills his master. It makes sense, and it makes sense that Snoke would be like, "You did it," and maybe he's a little bit in shock that he did it at that moment. Maybe he's a little bit in pain because it's a lightsaber through the gut. But I'm liking to think that Snoke wanted that to happen, and that moment was all planned.
So wait, you really do think that could have been planned?
Well, maybe not in that exact moment, but I think part of Snoke's plan for Kylo was for Kylo to do away with Snoke. I think so, because he needs to embrace the dark side and become one with the dark side, and Kylo just can't do that. So he's like, kill your father. That didn't work. All right, kill me. Like, that's just the Sith way to do it, right? You kill the master, but they're not Sith. And Snoke, because he was someone good, and this comes back to what you and I want, where Kylo Ren may be the best supreme leader of all time. Maybe Snoke knows that, and he's like, the only way he can do that is if he embraces the dark side, but he's not evil enough to actually use the dark side in a dark matter, if that makes sense. And so, I don't know. I'm trying to make light of everything that's going on. There's a plan. What's making me confident here is that there is a plan, whether it was like Rian Johnson, when he wrote it, he had all these backstory things figured out, but couldn't figure out a way to place them in the movie. So he got the novel, and the novel is where he placed all these little things, and they're there for a reason. And all these things that are added, and look, whether or not J.J. Abrams acknowledges them or not in 9, that's my problem.
Right.
But this is Rian Johnson's plan. He put them in the novel for a reason, so that we would know that all of this stuff happened for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of people out there in that in the Snoke theory world that are like, hey, yeah, look at that scene and you say, yeah, Snoke knew this was going to happen. I've never really been on that train. I actually genuinely believe he was shocked, and I genuinely believe that Kylo sort of found a unique way to get around that by sort of disguising his thoughts. I also like that because it kind of just makes Kylo a little bit more devious, a little bit smarter, because I think he goes, and then Ryan even says this, in his mind, Kylo goes into that room knowing he's going to betray Snoke, but he doesn't know how, right? And so he's trying to figure out a way to do that. But that's enough of Snoke talk. Let's talk about the other revelation. Reylo, ladies, where you at? So check this out. Apparently, there's this theory out there that Kylo Ren and Rey are in love. Have you heard of this theory?
No.
Oh, well.
What's it called?
It's called Reylo.
Reylo.
Yeah, what's a Reylo? That's what a lot of people ask me. And so check this out. So there was some confirmation that we're going to get these feelings explored further in the novel. And it just makes sense, right? I mean, like, you're going to get in the heads of the characters, right? Their real emotions are going to be there. And so my question to you, James, is after this novel comes out and we still see that they have literal romantic feelings for them, and it's literally on a page, How many people are going to still not accept it?
A lot. Because I think in the novel, and obviously I'm not reading it, just reading the leaks, it's Kylo that has the romantic feeling for Rey, and she does not reciprocate that whatsoever.
Yeah.
So it's really just Kylo.
Well, I mean,
Kylo.
look, if that's what's explicitly spelled out in there, then
it's high school.
Right, that'll make sense. But what if it's not?
No, look, I'm totally on board with the Reylo thing to an extent. I don't know how far along I am. Look, my whole thing with the Reylo, the reason I like it is they decided not to make these two characters related, and what they've done now is because they need the emotional depth of
the weight.
Yeah, they need their weight, the emotional weight, and what's it going to be? And if they're not related, it's got to be romantic. Then it can't just be two friends, or two equals. It's got to be the romantic thing is the only way to go. And if they're going to have a battle at the end, which really seems inevitable, what's the weight going to be? And it's going to be on the romantic connection that they both have. And we definitely look in The Last Jedi when we spoke after, you're like, that was Reylo, right? That was Reylo. And there was a few scenes where I was like, oh, we're going full Reylo, and it never quite went full Reylo in The Last Jedi. It was going there, and then I would be like, no, not quite. Like just tease. So and then the book obviously cements the fact that Kylo's emotions are conflicted, not just because of light and the dark, but also because of Rey. Rey senses that within him. He smirks when she lands in the landing pod. And so I think if it doesn't play out in episode 9, then it's really one of the biggest missed opportunities and the biggest red herring mistakes made in a long time.
I can agree with that. I can definitely get down with that. As a big, obviously a Reylo shipper, someone who really likes the connection that they have and everything, it's like, well, for me, I think there's a part of me I'm going to try to be objective about it, because I'll read probably every little thing and be like, oh my God, confirmed, you know what I mean? And different things like that. So I want to try to go into it objectively. But look, I'm just so convinced that this is Disney's plan, and this is the only thing, maybe the only thing that they have planned. The only actual plan that they have. And so it's possible. I'm so looking forward to this novel for a number of different reasons. I think it's going to be confirmed. I'm definitely going to do some videos about it when it comes out. And there's going to be so much for us to dig into with this book. So I'm very excited. Now let's just wrap the show up with a couple fan questions here, unless you have anything you want to say about Reylo. One last thing.
I'm shipping Preylo.
Who's that? The Praetorian Guards and Reylo?
Yep. That's Preylo.
Yeah. Take off your helmet. Yeah. All right. So let's get into some fan questions here. The first one actually comes to us from Thea C.
That's your thumbnail right there.
Yeah, right? Damn it, James. We're doing a show here. We're going to keep this shit together. All right. So,
and it's Sunday.
I know, right? It's Sunday. Hey, I'm sorry, guys. We try. So first question, Thea CZ. She's asking me about Luke's wife. Did you hear about this with the thing?
Cammy. Her name's Cammy.
Yeah, Cammy. Cammy seems like a good gal. What do you think about this? What's going on?
Well, again, I was on vacation. I came back to like, Luke has a wife. Rey is his daughter. Confirmed. And I was like, whoa. Yeah. That was actually not even a word of a lie. I read that on the Google because I was getting ready for the episode, this week's episode 83 of the Rebels Come podcast. And I was like, what's happening in Star Wars this week? I was like, what? And then you read and people are just clickbait. And it's you know about this, right? He has a dream.
Yes.
He dreams about the wife that he never had, and her name's Cammy. The end.
Yeah. And Thea was talking too about the alternative Luke Skywalker story, and I haven't dove super deep on this, and I think what the thing is that they're sort of playing off the idea of Legends, and that they're trying to bring in this idea that what happened in Legends may or may not have actually happened in some capacity, and that Luke is somehow having visions of it, right? And so basically, guys, what is happening is Luke had a wife, and everything was gravy train, and then Ezra Bridger went into that stupid time travel temple, pulled him out, and was like, we got to make all the Star Wars fans mad, and then shoved him onto Ahch-To. So that's basically what happened. The wife thing is nothing more than that. It's just a little sort of nod to Legends, I believe.
It played its part perfectly in getting you excited to read the book, though.
Yeah,
I think that's what
it did.
You know,
it did.
It was like, yeah,
they knew what they were doing.
I
know. What do you think about them starting with that? It's kind of messed up, right?
Yeah, I don't.
Because it's literally in the prologue, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of they want you to read the book.
yeah, they want you to be doing that for sure. All right, let's go into the last fan question. This one's from Maureen Reagan, or Regan probably. She wants to know, what do you think the plan is for Leia in Episode 9? Obviously, JJ, man, I think it was originally going to be Leia's movie. Now we're not so sure. Personally, what do you think they're going to do with Leia in Episode 9?
Ideally, I think you kind of time jump it and just say, hey, she passed away from the complications from what she suffered in The Last Jedi. I don't think they're going to recast at all. I just think, they just piss more people off if they did that, even though it's probably the right thing to do. They just piss more people off. And right now, it's such a sensitive time for Star Wars. You don't want to piss anybody off.
Yeah.
So I would say you kill her off in between whenever Last Jedi ends and whenever 9 starts, and I would make it complications from the spacing that everybody's pissed off at, and then people would be like, oh, okay, there was repercussions from that. Great.
Actually, that is a big rumor out there, and it might be even the novel, because I think some people leaked it, that, she suffered some massive radiation when she was outside of there or whatever.
Okay.
You know what I think would be interesting? I really think she needs to have more. The whole thing with her was that she needed to have more time with Ben. There was something going on with her son and her that was going to have a major impact in 9, and now that's not going to happen. And so I do agree that they sort of need to get her out of the picture within the first act, maybe even before the movie begins. But I'm wondering if they can use some footage or a little bit of CGI or something they shot in the last 2 films and do some kind of a scene where she has a conversation with Ben. And then maybe even fades, right? Maybe even does the Skywalker thing and just fades into nothingness. I mean, she hasn't had the ghost training, so I don't know if that's possible, but she's technically of a line from the Chosen One, so it's possible. Maybe she just goes.
Well, they've changed all their rules there, so. Did you ever watch The Sopranos?
No, I wasn't actually into it, to be honest with you.
The 3rd season starts, and Tony Soprano's mom's in it, but the actress had passed away before, and they used footage from other episodes,
right?
And they cut her out and just put her in scenes.
Yeah, that's kind of what they did in the Paul Walker thing, right?
Yeah, but this was 18 years ago,
right?
And when you watch it, I'm not sure how it holds up now. I haven't seen it in 15 years, but at the time you were like, every once in a while you'd be like, but if you didn't know, you weren't looking for it. Now everybody will know about Carrie Fisher, so it's a little bit different. But there are ways to do it, but they have to do it respectfully,
right?
And that's their biggest thing. But obviously, JJ, look, the script is done. They start shooting at the end of July. He knows what he's doing. I like your idea of how they need a moment. That's true. But do they have? Is the footage they have does it work for that? Is the other question.
Right. No, I get you. I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts. I think that they'll need to do some kind of a scene here. But we're going to wrap this up, guys, because I'm pretty sure my computer is going to crash. Sorry, this has not been the best episode of Nerds Talk Star Wars, but we're going to get better. And, hey, we got James back, so it's not all bad.
Yeah.
James,
look at my tan. Do you see my tan?
I can totally see it. It makes me just look even more pale. I mean, look, I literally white balance on my skin because I'm so freaking pale. James, where can people find you on the interwebs?
You can find me at the Rebel Scum Podcast, where I talk Star Wars all the time. Also, I have a new channel called Digital Charcuterie, where we serve up meats and cheeses. We talk about all other movie stuff there as well.
Guys, go check out the Digital Charcuterie. How do you say it, James?
I thought you were a hipster. Charcuterie,
yes. The Charcuterie channel. He just did a Reylo video and goes on for about 45 minutes just talking about why Reylo's dumb. He hates it, and everyone who ships Reylos, a bunch of fruit cakes and Fruit Loops, which I thought was kind of mean.
Opposite of truth.
Yeah, but it's no. Check out the channel. It's really hard to grow a channel on YouTube these days.
Yeah.
So go give James some love. I'll link the channel down below, and also go check out Rebel Scum Podcast. They do a ton of great stuff over there. Yeah, that's gonna do it for us, guys. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and nerdy day, and I will see ya in the next video. I kind of changed it up. People said they didn't like the see ya thing too much. They were.
I said, really?
Yeah, they were like, dude, I just can't with that. And I'm like, fine, I'll change it, but still kind of keep it.
I said see ya at the end of one of my videos on digital
Nice.
charcuterie. I don't know. I was just like wrapping up. I'm like, I don't have an ending for this, and I just go see ya, and I go, that's Josh.
That's perfect. So I just recorded all that. So
Yeah,
hey,
sweet.
guess what,
So now
guys?
you know
See ya.